Good evening, Scouts and Scouters. Welcome to the kickoff of Outdoor Programs 2025. I'm Craig Weston, your volunteer Vice President for Outdoor Adventure. Joining me tonight are Christian Griggs, your volunteer Vice President for Program Impact, Matt Keck, a professional scouter, and our new Director of Support Services, working in the Program Impact and Outdoor Program areas with Christian and me. And finally, Lee Murdoch, our Deputy Scout Executive, who is the moderator for tonight's panel. Outdoor Programs 2025 is a council strategic initiative and is all about getting grassroots feedback from you and others in our scouting community on how to evolve our outdoor programs and camping facilities to meet your needs for the future. We are now going to go through some slides that will show you where Outdoor Programs 2025 fits in our council strategic plan, the processes and schedules we will use to get your ideas and suggestions, and some steps we are already taking for the future. We are sure you'll have questions and comments for us, so please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen to submit your questions or comments, and our moderator will address them to the panel at the end of our presentation. Now, over to Matt to talk about our council strategic plan.
Thank you, Craig, and good evening, everyone. It is great to be back in the National Capital Area Council. I'm a product of scouting and scouting here, so I'm very passionate to meet all of you. Some on the call I've met recently, and some I look forward to meeting soon. But as I come back and have familiarized myself with the strategic plan, the key words that came to my mind were shared goals, right? We have some shared goals as a council that are really reflected in 5 pillars. For those who may not yet have seen the strategic plan, which is already underway, we're almost halfway through our 3-year timeline. The 5 pillars are up on your screen this evening. And I'll start first with Grow Cub Scouting, right? The entry point to our pipeline. This is perhaps one of our biggest goals that we must undertake as a movement as a whole, right? Not just in the National Capital Area Council, but everywhere, in order to serve more youth and serve more families. In order to do that, we also have to have effective fund development. That has changed over the past couple of years. We have worked with the organizational alignment pillar to understand how best to develop the funds needed to reinvest in the National Capital Area Council and all of our programs to support youth and our volunteers as we move through this great organization together. We're very blessed to have a lot of facilities in the National Capital Area Council, but we have to make sure that we are optimizing the use and optimizing them for program impact. We have to deliver the promise every day, and that's really what the optimizing facilities pillar is all about. Organizational alignment, as we've gone through some challenging times with COVID and a number of other major challenges we've faced together, we have to make sure that we are aligned to move forward. And that's really where the organizational alignment pillar comes in. One of the great things I was talking about a little bit earlier with Lee, a key initiative in that pillar was to institute a scholarship fund. To date, in 2024, we have received over 1,000 requests in that scholarship fund to help make sure that scouting is accessible and that we are reaching families as they need it. I know many on the call have supported that and continue to support it, so thank you. We have to make sure that scouting is open and accessible to all. And then last and maybe most importantly, we have to reestablish the value of scouting. We have to make sure that our brand is strong, that our message is clear, and that we are internally, externally communicating in an effective manner to all of our constituents, and maybe some of our constituents that have yet to join the programs of the Boy Scouts of America. If we focus on these 5 pillars, we will have a tremendous movement forward together to support the National Capital Area Council and all of our scouts and volunteers therein. Let's go to the next slide. So as we hone in on our facilities optimization, in 2022, there were suggestions for improvements and follow-on work. And in 2023 and moving forward, you'll note that there are really 2 major committees that are at work here. Our real estate committee, which we're going to cover just a couple of items on this call tonight, and Outdoor Programs 2025. That's where all of us come in. And as we come together as a community to understand what programs and facilities we need for the future and how we can align our resources to get there. So with that, I'll turn it over to Christian Griggs.
Great. Thanks you, Matthew. Next slide, please. Great. Quick overview and good evening, everyone. I'm Christian Griggs, your Council VP for Program Impact. I wanted to start off with a quick explanation of the goal and then move to the timeline of what Outdoors Program 2025 is meant to accomplish. And I'm going to read through this real quickly and try to highlight just a few bullets. Overall, we are to define a compelling, dynamic, and sustainable NCAC outdoor program and associated facilities that deliver the scouting mission in a forward-thinking manner through at least the next 25 years, understands and expresses our scouting community's evolving expectations in a transparent way, attracts and retains scouts and families of all abilities and means with age-appropriate experiences, and at the end, that we can provide a model that other councils across the nation can emulate. Next slide, please. As I said, this timeline is an 18-month process, and we're closer to the beginning than we are to the end. We started this in January with the formation of a steering group led by Craig Weston and Lee, and with me supporting them, but with also roughly a dozen other Scout volunteers and some professionals to provide steering committee guidance. And supporting that steering committee is a breakdown of what we call focus groups. Over the next 18 months, we look to obtain data and feedback from this broad scouting community by these focus groups continuing their discussions, by conducting and sharing and gaining a lot of feedback on a variety of surveys, and to have town hall meetings just like the one we're having right now to kick this off. At the end of the 18 months, that is by next summer, summer of 2025, we aspire to deliver an action plan to adjust our council outdoor programs and facilities that will best serve our community for the next 25 years. Next slide, please. So breaking down a little more detail into that timeline, spring 2024, where we are right now. After this timeline, the focus groups will continue to recruit as necessary, and they'll start to meet for discussions. And when the discussions, they'll take some of the keynote questions that we've identified, the questions that we all want to address as part of this process, and then each of the breakout focus groups will drill down to the specificity of their focus groups. And I'll give that on the following slide. By this summer, we hope to continue camper discussions at a variety of the camps across the NCAC. We look to summarize these results, identify some of the common themes and the trends that we're seeing in the feedback. Throughout the fall, we plan to continue to adjust and validate the results of that feedback, continuing with more surveys and with additional town hall meetings like tonight. By the winter of 24 and into 2025, we will publish our results and begin work on our action plan. Next slide, please. So this is a graphical representation of the process that I just described. If you look in the middle, that's the steering committee that I discussed that really started the process, the ball rolling. And you'll see, if you start at 12 o'clock and move in a clockwise manner, you'll see the focus groups that I mentioned. This includes Cub Scouts, Scouts BSA, older youth, to include, for example, Sea Scouts and our venturing, alternative youth, for example, our highly touted STEM Scouts program. We have the Order of the Arrow, which is a very important part of our scouting community. We have a training focus group that I'm leading personally, which will focus on ensuring that we have the right facilities to support training for units and district and across the entire council. And then finally, district operations. That is to ensure that all of our districts, regardless of where they are geographically, and regardless of the facilities that are available where they are, can ensure that they have their scouting expectations and their outdoor program expectations met across their council. Next slide, please. Continuing that process, part two, and using a similar graphical representation, you see the steering committee in the middle, but now we're going to talk about a variety of the facilities that we're looking at across the NCAC. Starting at 12 o'clock and once again moving in a clockwise manner, you'll see Goshen Scout Reservation. That's the entire Goshen Scout Reservation writ large. Moving to the right, you'll see Goshen Scout Reservation individual camps. And it's important to understand that for many scouters and scouts, the individual camps have individual appeal that's very important. So we're looking to make sure we keep the feedback distinguished between those two. Continuing in the clockwise manner, you see Camp William B. Snyder, which is an important part of the NCAC's outdoor program. You'll see at the bottom, Camp Catoctin. You'll see Camp Howard Wall. And for those who may not know, this is an NCAC camp in the U.S. Virgin Islands that is not as well known, but a very beautiful part of the NCAC's facilities. Scouting Cares. This is an important program that we continue to bring scouts of different means into the scouting community and expose them to scouting. And then finally, external users. And by external users, we want to have an eye to, as we look to make recommendations for changes for our facilities, we want to have an eye to non-scouting families or non-scouters who might also be willing to use our facilities. This could be corporate partners, could be community partners, could be other not-for-profits. But if we can look at ways to bring in additional external users, we think that we might be able to contribute to what we can provide as part of our outdoor programs. So I'll be followed now by Craig Weston.
We already know some things about our outdoor programs and camps based on your feedback from camping with us and also by traveling to other camps in the area. We know that we need to invest more money in our camps. Both Camp Snyder and Camp Wall down the Virgin Island do need enhancements. Goshen Scout Reservation really needs some infrastructure revitalization. The camp is approaching 60 years old and was not designed for the heavy-duty use of electrical as we are using it for welding merit badge, and we don't have power to the campsites, which many people need for their devices and also for CPAP machines. We also know that our programs and our staff need improvement. We really do need to invest in watercraft, program materials, the program areas themselves, and we need to recruit and pay our seasonal staff appropriately. And you, our campers, expect more modern amenities. You expect broadband internet because many of you, when you go to camp, have to stay connected to work, and you need broadband to do that. Gender-neutral bathrooms are appropriate in this era, and we need to make those available. And as I mentioned, campsite power is an important addition that all of you would like to have, I'm sure. And the final thing, we know that outdoor recreation in the United States is booming. Americans are swarming to the outdoors, and yet we struggle to maintain head count at our summer camps. So why is it that Americans are swarming to the outdoors, and yet we struggle to get people to come to our camps? So we need to think through what is it we need to do differently as a council to make our camps as attractive to all of our scouts as to the rest of the Americans. Next. Now, we're not waiting for your ideas and your suggestions, but we're already making improvements to the camps. We are installing fiber internet for this summer at camps Ross, Marriott, and Baird, and will continue to operate hotspot internet at camps Olmsted and Post. Those two camps will require a significant investment because the internet is provided by another provider, and that cable has to be strung, and that will take some time to do. We have increased our seasonal camp staff pay over the past years, but we know we need to do more, and we also need to add incentives to retain our camp staff, so they'll be coming back year after year to give you the experience that you deserve. We purchased new tents for the last 4 years at Camp Snyder and Goshen Scout Reservation, and nothing makes for a more miserable camp experience than having a leaking tent. But we have over 1,000 tents in inventory at Goshen Scout Reservation, and we can't buy them fast enough to replace them as they wear out. So we will need to think about better means of accommodating scouts and scouters. And then for range and target sports, formerly known as shooting sports, at Goshen Scout Reservation, that committee has received a number of grants for new rifles, bows, arrows, and shooting sports materials over the last several years. And you should see the benefit of that at Goshen Scout Reservation. Also this year, we are going to raise the berms at Camps Olmsted and Marriott to make sure that we're following all the safety guidelines from the BSA. And finally, due to popular demand, we have added one more week of Scouts BSA Merit Badge at Camp Snyder, making 2 weeks of Scouts BSA Merit Badge Camp this summer at Camp Snyder. Moving on, many of you have heard about the recent Board of Directors decision on real estate. And in March, the Board of Directors did approve the listing for sale of the Marriott Scout Service Center and also an unused 21.5 acre parcel of land in Haymarket, Virginia, that is south of I-66. So the Marriott Scout Center is greatly underutilized, particularly since we've gone to remote work. And it is no longer in the population or the geographic center of our council, as it was 50 years ago when it was constructed. So if this sale proceeds, the council is going to use the proceeds to establish more appropriate facilities to serve our scouts, units, and volunteers in our broader council. The Haymarket, Virginia property is a narrow strip of land that is actually physically separated from Camp Snyder by I-66. It is partially zoned for industrial use in a growing area of the county. And if you drive by that strip of land, it is nothing but scrub brush and small spindly timber. Not very attractive for us for camping. So here's a cartoon that shows you the 330 acres of Camp Snyder that is north of I-66. This includes the wetlands and undeveloped area, but also all the developed areas that are in use today. And the council is retaining Camp Snyder. Let me say it again. The council is retaining Camp Snyder. I'll say for a third time, Camp Snyder is not being sold. So please get that word out to your scouting friends that Camp Snyder is not being sold. We want to stop the rumor and misinformation mill. Now, south of I-66 is that narrow strip of land that's called the Haymarket property. And that is what the council would like to sell and reinvest those funds in the council. Let's move on. So as we get towards the conclusion of our presentation here, I'd like to encourage all of you to stay informed and participate. As time goes by, you can learn the status of our focus groups, our summer camp surveys, and the themes and trends we're beginning to develop. You can view results, you can participate in individual surveys later in the year, and you can sign up for the fall town hall meetings by going to the web link that you see below. You can also get to that link on our council website under Outdoor Adventure. Next. At this point, we'd like to open it up for your questions or comments and any suggestions you may have on the process. So I'm going to turn it over to Lee Murdoch to be our moderator and to fire out your questions to those of us on the panel.
Thank you, sir, and good evening, everyone. John, David, sorry for the oversight. On one of the slides that Christian covered, we did omit one focus group, and that is High Adventure. So those folks are also included as a focus group. Again, John, David, sorry for the oversight there. So I guess I'll start with a question maybe to Christian. Christian, why these focus groups? Why do we sort of pick those as the primary starting point?
Well, when the first several meetings at the steering committee, we've with a lot of the volunteers and a few of the professionals that were there, I recall we actually threw around a lot of ideas of what the right breakout would be of focus groups. We wanted to make sure that we had the right focus groups with the right number of leaders that could drill down into a variety of these topics. We didn't want to have too many that got unwieldy, so we really tried to keep it, I believe, under 10. But when you look at the focus groups and the foci, forgive me, but of those focus groups, you'll see that we're really trying to get so many different aspects of the scout experience. You know, we're focusing on the scouts because we really start off with the Cub Scouts, Scouts BSA, the older scouts, and the alternative programs. And then you look, as we continued around that circle, we try to look at a variety of looking back at the outdoor programs through a variety of lenses. So you'll see, once again, high adventure, the oversight on that, but you'll see the training aspect that needs to support all of that. We wanted to make sure that we were looking at the facilities. So those are the numbers and the feedback that we came up with over multiple meetings with the steering committee. If there's something we're missing on that, love to see some follow-on comments, that we can try to address and see if there's a blind spot that we're creating. We definitely want to make sure that we're getting it addressed. So, Craig, I might have missed anything. If there's anything else you could think of that I missed in that quick explanation, but that's the group that we came up with, and I think it's pretty sound. But open to hear some feedback if there's a blind spot we're creating.
Okay, thanks, Christian. We do have another team member that's helping obviously on tonight's call, and I want to just recognize Cindy for all of her work as our Director of Marketing and Public Relations, or Chief Communications Officer. Cindy, I'll actually kick this one to you. I'm seeing a couple questions in here around, hey, this is great content. How are we going to be able to see this after the meeting? Is it going to be distributed to the council? Thanks.
Well, it will definitely be on the website, which Craig just mentioned, the Outdoor Program 2025 webpage, which is under Adventures on the menu of the website. But I'll also include links to it in the family newsletters and in the leader newsletters. If you're not receiving those, and I hope you are, you can go to weownadventure.com. That's weownadventure.com, our blog, and there's newsletter link there that you can sign up for the newsletters. And you could always email info@ncacbsa.org, and I will receive that and can pass along any information that you need.
Great, thank you. Craig, I'm seeing a question here. What exactly is the Outdoor Programs 2025 initiative? This was slides about camp facilities. Are there any actual proactive efforts to improve the experience?
I guess I don't understand the question. I thought I talked about a number of things that we're doing to improve the camper experience. So maybe I'm missing the intent of the question.
The way I interpret the question, and Sean, obviously feel free to clarify this, is this process just designed to understand and come up with recommendations for facility improvements? Or are we trying to, through this focus group, get a comprehensive white paper, like everything's on the table for things that could be and should be improved at our facilities? That's how I interpret Sean's question.
Now I understand. Yes, the last approach is the one we're taking. Everything is on the table in terms of both facilities and programs. We really want the scouting community's ideas, not only what should our facilities look like, but also what kind of programs should we have? Should we refresh the programs we have? Should we add new programs? I know High Adventure has taken a lot of initiatives in the council in the last several years to actually have NCAC specific high adventure trips other than to the 3 BSA high adventure bases. So that is just one idea that we could pursue on a broader scale to create our own high adventure. But there are other things that we can do, but we really need to know what is the scouting community wants, because 4 or 5 of us here might decide that this is something that would be good for the scouting community, but we need the broader perspective of the scouting community. And that's what this entire process is about, is to gather in all those inputs and also to try to let everybody, whether it be a scout or a scout family, be part of the process. And that happens later in the year when we do the surveys and we have the town hall meetings. So we are gathering a lot of information, and truly everything is on the table.
Thank you, sir. Matt, would you be able to address, will the GSR focus group, that writ large GSR group, include senior camp staff, i.e. camp directors, program directors?
It absolutely will. We will do the same thing at Camp Snyder, just for everyone's information. We want to make sure that we are listening to our current camp staff. They are a valuable constituent group to us. And so we will take time, especially this summer, to listen to scouts and scouters who are attending our camps, but also make that space available for our seasonal staff to give feedback as well. Great question.
Thank you, Matt. See a question here, and I'm going to kick this one to Christian. Well, actually, I might kick this one to Cindy. Sorry, Christian. It's connected loosely, I think, to our presentation tonight. On what pages are the current NCAC committee members listed with their contact information, i.e. advancement, outings, DEI, special needs, etc.? Cindy, Christian, I don't know if either one of you wants to wager a guess at that answer.
We do have on that mega menu on the website, there is a page which has a graphic for each of the council committees. I will admit that this is one of the areas of the website that I inherited that still needs to be updated extensively. But as I've noticed changes, and a lot of committees have the ability to keep it updated themselves, that's the place to go. But we have realized that I need to do some work revamping a lot of those pages. The very active committees, I would say, have the correct contact information. As example, the Equity Committee and Target Sports and all are very much updated right now.
I would just add to that, just what Cindy said, that there's an active page that has a variety of those committees. If you go to the NCAC, I believe it's committees, that's where it'll pop up. Now, once you drill down into some of those committees, I'll speak for myself, for example, as your Program Impact Chair. Underneath Program Impact, there are almost a dozen separate subcommittees. At any one time or another, sometimes those personnel are changing over, and so it's hard to keep sometimes the names, the exact points of contact updated. But it's an ongoing process that we're looking at. Always welcome to have more volunteers help us out with that, cleaning that up. But you can reach out, send a message on that. We're doing what we can. But there's more information to follow on that. The council website's the best place to go to.
Thank you very much, Cindy and Christian. Christian, this might be one for you and/or Craig, if you want to pile in as well. So it says many districts and even some council activities occur at non-council locations. How do we gauge whether the availability of such locations will increase, decrease, maintain in the future, and in consequence, increase or decrease demand for program use at council facilities? So I would say, if I can tee off, I think that's a great question. I think that is part of the focus group that the district operations focus group will be tasked with, to try and understand, what is the size and scope of some of our large events, and do we have the current event capacity to operate them? Obviously, we love having district and council events at Camp Snyder. That's my understanding that we don't have a tremendous amount of those events at Goshen Scout Reservation, probably due to some water infrastructure needs that need to be addressed so that we can have more year-round. And then obviously the wrinkle there becomes that adds 2 hours to your commute both directions. So we're aware of that time challenge. But I do think this question would primarily fall to the district operations focus group. Craig, Christian, any further thoughts?
Sure. I just want to add a couple things. I mean, I've been to Snyder and to Goshen and to our facilities, and I've gone to other council facilities for camping experiences, and I've gone to non-BSA campsites for experiences. This is exactly what we're trying to get at. And when you look at when the focus group questions, particularly some of the lead-off questions are very open-ended. They're basically when you and your unit and you and your scouts go, camping or go to the great outdoors, what is it you're looking for? We're open-ended questions like that. And that's really how we're trying to get the ball rolling, to identify those trends and identify the commonalities of what our scouts and what our scout families are looking for, not linking it to, Goshen Scout Reservation or Snyder or other places. And we hope through that process, what are you looking for in the experiences? What is being met or not met at the facilities we have right now? And what can we do better in the future? That's really sort of the three-step process that this entire Outdoor Programs 25 initiative is trying to help tackle. So like I said, I personally have been to all of those. I've been to our camps. I've been to other camps. We're trying to get that feedback. We're trying to see what meets the needs and demands of our families and our scout units. And I'm hoping this whole process is going to make us more informed down the road.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said so far. And I guess I would just summarize by saying there's a number of directions we as a council can go here. And we're looking for the scouting community to kind of give us a heading on what the council should be doing.
Great, thank you both. Craig, I'm going to kick this next one to you because I think this allows maybe to elaborate some of the subgroups of the focus groups. So it came in from Michael Yates as a suggestion: a focus group of NCAC troops that attend summer camp at other councils. He states that he attended Goshen every year as a youth, but his child's troop attends camps in and out of council. Perhaps a group that is focused on not going to our facilities can provide some insight on what options we should be looking at. So any thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. We want to hear from units that never go to Goshen and understand why is that. And the Scouts BSA focus group, I'm sure we will have representatives of the districts in there whose units do not attend Goshen on a regular basis. So we certainly will be getting that kind of feedback. As the question of whether we should have a broader engagement, maybe not a focus group, because it is a big effort to run a focus group, but perhaps we should tailor our surveys to those units that don't attend Goshen and specifically send them a survey asking the leading questions of why do they go to other camps, why don't they go to Goshen. So we can do that later in the process through the survey format.
Okay. Great, thank you, Craig. See a question here. Given the challenges we face, and this is related to council camps, I'll read it. Historically, council camps have relied on support from the Order of the Arrow Lodge to help provide quality camp staff. Given the challenges we face in meeting our staffing goals, have we thought about generating more interest among our talented Order of the Arrow members? Who would like to? Craig, Matt, either one of you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, I'll take that one if it's okay. I think the answer is certainly yes. We would welcome our Order of the Arrow youth, young adults, maybe recently retired adults. I think there's a lot of talent in the Amagamek Whippet Lodge that could be deployed, and I would encourage everyone who's on the call. The qualities of our camps rely on the people. So feel free to make a referral. If the folks who asked that question specifically want to follow up with me about how we do that, I'd be happy to work with Kelly and our lodge chief and our lodge advisor to close the gap on that. But I think, Lee, the short answer is absolutely. We would welcome more members of the lodge applying for our camp staff positions.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Craig, question to you. What is Camp Catoctin? Got it in here a couple times in the Q&A.
Camp Catoctin is a 1 week merit badge camp put on by Francis Scott Key District up in the Catoctin National Park. And they do this in, I believe, the early August timeframe. And if you attend the council camping committee meeting, you can get a regular report on the progress they're making by preparing for camp this year. And I believe if you go to the council website and look in the August timeframe, you should see a place to sign up for it. But it is a merit badge camp that has gone on for several decades, has a very seasoned staff. Many of them are adults who take time off from work to actually teach the merit badges. And so the Camp Snyder Merit Badge Week is very much modeled after what goes on at Camp Catoctin.
Very good. Thank you, sir. See a question here about getting into specifics. Any plans to improve the COPE course at Camp Snyder?
I'll take that. The short answer to the question is we are not going to invest any more money in the COPE course unless people start using it. Every year that we use the course, we have to certify it. And there actually has to be a formal safety inspection by an outside agency. And it costs quite a bit of money. I think it's several $100s to get the course inspected. It is a wonderful course, but some years ago, we went through the inspection process and we only had one unit use the course during the year. And we have very little demand for the course as best we can tell. So unless there's a lot of pent-up demand and people aren't expressing their desires, we're not going to continue to invest in the course. It's just too expensive to maintain for no use.
Thank you, sir. I'll kick this one over to Matt. Matt, what about a focus on recruiting and retaining adult volunteers at the unit level, or is that being included in the already established focus groups?
Lee, I think if we were to refer back to the strategic pillars, I think the only way that we accomplish those strategic pillars, including the organizational alignment, the optimizing facilities, the Camp 2025 initiative, and growing Cub Scouting, we have to attract and retain more volunteers. We have to have the pipeline open to new parents and those who have never volunteered with our organization before. I also think that in many ways, we need to make sure that we are listening to brand new parents, brand new volunteers. I hope that some on the call tonight would count themselves in that category. As Christian said, we're looking out over a very long time frame in terms of what we want our programs and our facilities to do, not just for those of us on the call tonight and our kids, but for those who have not yet participated in scouting. And the only way that this movement has existed for well over 100 years is with and through quality, engaged, passionate volunteers. We have to grow that talent base.
Thank you, Matt. Christian, this next question emerged to be a tongue twister for me. And as our Vice President of Program Impact, I think this is most in your wheelhouse. Question is, looking ahead to 2026, do we have a program plan to celebrate the semi-quincentennial? As the largest youth organization with a stated aim of citizenship training, this event seems to be a sweet spot between our values and the opportunity to be more visible in the community. So any thoughts on that, sir?
I saw that earlier. I wrote a note to one of my notes I'm taking on the side. I said, I need to find out who's got the lead for the 250th. I think that's the translation. But the answer is I don't know if there is. I'm trying to think back. I've been at some council meetings where there's been discussion of this. I don't know where the lead is in that, but I want to make one of the notes to myself is to find out after this meeting who has the lead for that. I don't know the answer, but I want to find out. Thank you.
No problem, sir. It is something we've had some preliminary talks about, and obviously looking at what are states doing, what can we partner with. We even looked at, okay, what would be like a one-day event at the National Mall? What could that sort of do, and when would be a good time to do that to best serve scouting and best serve our units? So yes, that is in the ether of things that are being discussed. So well, I see a couple questions here. Craig, maybe this is a question for you. I see what, how does one get on a focus group?
Well, that's a great question. You know, it's very surprising that we have 15,000 volunteers in our council, and we've been working for 2 months to recruit people for these focus groups. It's a real challenge because everybody is very, very busy. Scouting is only a part of their real life. So if you do want to be on a focus group, we will, if you will send me, I'm trying to think of an email address you can use. But if you'll send me your name and what focus group you want to be on, I'll try to direct you to the right area. So can we put my email address in somewhere, Lee? Is it possible to do that?
What if maybe after this Zoom ends, we just put that out as a follow-up email saying, you know, thanks everybody for being here. If you've got further information, please, you know, follow up by clicking here to get in touch with us.
Yeah.
If I may add to that real quickly, I know with some of the focus groups, and I'm speaking for training particularly, we were looking for, I know in every focus group is different, but we wanted to make sure in our focus group that we had representation, not just of all the variety, for example, of all the training programs, the big training program, but we also had good representation geographically. And that is, we wanted to have as many districts participating as possible. I've reached out specifically to some of the different corners of the council map, if you will, to make sure that we're getting folks from Southern Maryland, from further down towards Fredericksburg, from Ukiah and Mattaponi, and the places that sometimes have, you know, that are further away from the center of gravity, if you will, around Fairfax, and also in Southern Maryland. So that's one reason. I know that also some folks, literally just because of that, you might have some districts that just have so many great volunteers that they literally have 8 or 10 people or 6 people that are already participating in a focus group, and just we're trying to get, you know, other participants to make sure that we have folks across the council being represented. But once again, always looking forward to getting more folks to help out and participate. And so anyone with training, particular interest tonight, I'll make sure my email is added to that. Feel free to reach out to me if you have training input. Thank you.
Thank you both. Yeah, a question came in from Matt. Are there any specific focus groups where you need more members? In our follow-up email, I'll work to sort of get like a, hey, here's the percentage, or here's where we're at as it relates to how many members we have with each focus group. We're always looking for more input. And again, some of the detail is some of these focus groups break down further. And so there's multiple levels of possible engagement that do exist through this process. I'm going to take a question from Hunter. The question is, have we considered a partnership with a local university or college for camp interns? So I had the good fortune of doing an internship, serving as a program director a few years ago now, and would greatly work on doing that similar thing for young people today. I know that our team has been at college fairs and has been trying to connect with students on campus where they are, to try to get their interest in being on our camp staff. I think, like Matt addressed earlier, or was discussed earlier, the majority of our camp staff are obviously campers first at our properties, and so what we can do to get more scouts at our camps, and then in theory ensure that they have a quality experience, will hopefully see us recruiting more camp staff from our camper ranks in the future. All right, question here, which I'll kick to Craig. Huge challenge with camps is that with more facilities comes more maintenance down the road. What are we doing to plan ahead and be sustainable over the long term?
That is the $1 million question, literally. We are thinking about various ways of funding the maintenance of our camps and institutionalizing that in the council. We do have something called a maintenance endowment fund, which is the earnings that spin off of our council investments in the stock market from the endowment fund. And generally, that's about $250,000 a year that we directly pour into the maintenance of our camp properties. But we've done some recent analysis with some real estate professionals, and we've determined that really for the square footage of property that we have, we should be spending more than that on our camp facilities. So we're thinking about a number of processes to supplement the maintenance endowment. One idea would be that when a new building is built on one of our properties, we ask the donor to not only donate the money for the construction of the building, but perhaps ask them for 10% additional to create a building-specific endowment fund, and that 10% would be a lasting endowment that would take care of the maintenance of that building. That is one idea. We're also looking at what other councils do and how they allocate funds to maintain their camps. So it's a great question. We are looking into that very seriously and want to institutionalize some new processes to make that happen.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it. Matt, you said you had two high-level themes.
Lee, as I read through questions and continue to log them, there are great questions coming in. I really appreciate everyone's engagement this evening. One theme that I want to cover is I want to make sure it's clarified. While there are things I think all of us would like to see as outcomes to this process, we really do want to understand where everyone's head is at. We want to build the community that we have participating in a conversation just like this, which has been mentioned. So as we do that, we have to make sure that we're listening, that we're being respectful of each other, and that we're realizing, hey, each of our perspectives on scouting is a little bit different. But at the end of the day, we don't necessarily at this very point in time know what the end result of this work is going to look like. And I think that's really important as we build focus groups, as we talk with other volunteers in our units that haven't been able to join the call tonight. I know some will watch this recording later because they're at unit meetings right now. While there are some things we have to consider, and health and safety certainly top amongst those, we have got to make sure that we are open-minded and know that just because we've been either doing something and doing it well or not as well as we could be, or not doing something, doesn't mean we shouldn't put all of that in and see what comes out on the other side. I've seen a lot of comments that have to do with feasibility. You know, what's the feasibility for us to maintain this? What's the feasibility for accessing a program? I've seen a couple of comments about reliability. I think that's a common thread. We would like to be able to rely on the programs and properties that we're very fortunate to have. And then how can we continue to invest in those properties? So please know, for those who ask specific questions about different camps, different properties, all of our camps and properties are on the table for this project. It is not specific to any one. Just because we've already undertaken a project at a camp, even for the summer of 2024, does not mean that we're not thinking about all of the rest of our camps and properties through this process. Please know there is not necessarily a predetermined end result of what Outdoor Programs 2025 will return. Second key theme, Lee, if I may, I've seen a lot of comments coming in about new programs or suggestions. I think that those are great. Please work with and through the already established council committees to bring those to the forefront. A couple of folks have said, commented they've seen other programs other places, that they're proactively working on developing new programs. We have to continue to evolve what we deliver to attract and retain more young people. So I really am appreciative of those who are already thinking that direction. Those are the two main themes that cover, I think, about 12 to 13 questions asked here this evening.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. I see a question from Vince, one of our recent National Outstanding Eagle Scout Award recipients. And Craig, I'll kick this to you, but I also am happy to answer if you prefer. Is any consideration being given to sharing a facility with other councils, sharing the risks and costs, but also the benefits?
I was a member of the facilities optimization group that met in 2022, and we did discuss that idea. And it was particularly pertinent because of the BSA bankruptcy, and many councils were struggling with maintaining their camps, and some were selling off their properties. And so forming some kind of partnership was an idea that was considered, and at that time decided not to act on it. But it is worth exploring. And again, if our scouting community is bullish on that idea, then we should certainly pursue it and see what is possible.
Great, thanks, sir. I think this question would be best for you too, Craig. On one of the slides, it said we were going to be doing surveys at summer camps. And the question is, why not engage unit committees directly or participation at district roundtables? Any chance you could speak to what was done in 2022 that involved unit committees?
Yes. So let me answer the latter part first. We did send out, the Facilities Optimization Committee did send out a survey to, as best we could tell, every unit key 3 and every district key 3 in the council. And we asked a series of short questions, but the basic question was, do you have adequate outdoor and indoor facilities in which to conduct your activities, whether you be at a unit level or whether you be at a district level? And we sent that out over the summer when all of us are very, very busy. And I was surprised that we got 350 responses, which is a pretty good response for a survey. And so we did get feedback on that particular set of questions. But that's not the questions that we're asking now. The questions we're asking now is, what do you want for your outdoor programs and your camping facilities? And how can the council enable that? So it's a much more open-ended question. As to doing this at the unit level, it's a very difficult proposition, as you can imagine, because we would have to visit every unit in the council, and that's a very daunting task. We might consider doing it at a district roundtable, and I knew some districts have very robust roundtables in which we would get a very good interaction, and other districts get relatively little attendance at their roundtables. So it's an idea we will put in the mix and see how much volunteer manpower we have to take this on.
Thank you, sir. Cindy, could you go back to slide 8 for us real quick? I did get a question in here about what are the current focus groups. Again, with unfortunately my error in omitting the high adventure focus group. These are the 8 sort of core big focus groups. Christian, anything you want to double stomp here real quick?
No, other than you already hit the oversight about high adventure, mea maxima culpa from me on that. But no, this is once again writ large, but each of the focus group leads, has better fidelity. I can speak to training, with a little more detail, for example. But this is roughly the breakout we're looking at. And once again, really looking at scouts and their families to be centered in this process. That's really how we started it off. How do we support the scouts and their families? And then what are the programs or the supporting efforts, such as training, that we need to look at to make sure that we're getting to the families and their requirements?
Okay, thanks, sir.
I can add to that. Our thinking was that anyone in our scouting community that's interested in the outdoors and in camping, they are probably part of one of these 8 groups in some fashion. And some people are part of multiple groups. For instance, a scout is obviously going to be considered under the Scouts BSA, but that same scout may be considered under the Order of the Arrow, the honored camper society. So the whole idea was through these groups, they represent the interests in some fashion of everybody in our council, whatever their particular aspect of scouting is.
Great. Thank you. Question came in about alternative youth, just to make sure that's clear. That is STEM Scouts specifically, and I believe some of our exploring programs that maybe aren't law enforcement or fire services. So it's a little bit of a hybrid between exploring and STEM Scouts, just so everybody's aware of that. I know we're approaching the hour, and I just want to make sure that I'm not. There are a few outstanding here. A shout out to John Lesko for being an amazing resource for and the council treasurer. One question here, and Cindy, I might ask you to tackle this one if you're so agreeable. Is there any thought to seek out corporate sponsorship to help with the development, advancement of programs? Thinking of groups like the NRA, Bass Pro, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
We haven't yet explored that possibility, but I could see that being a possibility as we come up with the plan and we know what facilities we want and what it's going to take to bring on sponsors. I think that we are open to it.
Well, let me add, if I could, NRA specifically has been the source of our grants for shooting sports, or range and target sports, as it's now called. So we've gotten a number of firearms, bows and arrows, and shooting sports equipment through the NRA over several years. And we've also worked with the local government down where Goshen is and the state in terms of applying for grants to do maintenance work on Lake Meriwether and on the dam. So we do apply for grants in the council. We could probably explore other corporate sponsorships, and really it's a matter of someone connecting us with the right entity. You don't know what you don't know. So if any of you volunteers can think of a great company that's in the outdoors or not in the outdoors that might be a good sponsor for us, let us know, and we will try and make the connection.
Great, thank you both. And Hunter dropped in here, Hunter Shelley dropped in here, the Isaac Walton League. Isaac Walton League is a tremendous charter partner for many scouting units, just as an FYI, and I know that we do a fair amount of events at their facilities. Matt, I don't know, did anything else pop out at you going through here? Christian, anything popping out at you that we want to make sure that we hit? I know we're coming up on the 8 o'clock hour, and I do want to be respectful of everybody's time.
No, Lee, I know we've seen a lot of program related questions. I think that was anticipated. There's also been some facility related questions. To my previous comment, please know that all of these areas are on the table for evaluation to understand how we can best use or evolve our current resources. So thanks for those who dropped in comments about some of our restroom facilities, some of our other facilities. A question from Nick related to some of our program area facilities themselves, where we deliver program. Please know that all of those things are under consideration.
Yes, and there has been a couple comments in here related to some ticks at Camp William B. Snyder. Obviously, we'll follow up appropriately offline to get further information and make sure that we do proactively do all that we can to address that in a positive manner, consistent with sound environmental practices. So, Craig, Christian, I'm going to go ahead and ask Cindy to take us to the next slide and ask you fine folks to close us on out.
I just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. I know it's been a great amount of feedback, and particularly a lot of the written comments, even the ones that we were not able to get to, and address specifically. I've been trying to take copious notes, and there's been a lot of really good feedback. This is exactly what we want to get going and what we want to continue for the next 18 months, to get this kind of feedback, to get folks who are passionate about expressing their desires and needs, and giving some really detailed feedback, drilling down to a lot of good fidelity for some of these issues. So I know, like I said, Matt, as I want to double what Matt said, seeing a lot of program related stuff, and a lot of good facility stuff. So this is a great process. It's going to be an ongoing, iterative process. We're going to be taking a lot of different bites of the apple, and we hope that by doing this over the next 18 months together, that we're going to come up with some really good recommendations of how we can meet council, needs and desires for the next 25 years. So I'm excited. Thank you for joining us tonight.
And I'll echo Christian's thank you for joining us tonight. We will capture all your questions and suggestions and comments. There's a way to do that on Zoom. So once we sign off, that is not lost. We will have that record, and that will begin to start our database of your ideas and suggestions. And I would urge you to check back to the Outdoor Programs 2025 web link on the council website periodically. Eventually, we're going to have surveys and ways for you to make suggestions directly after we have our focus groups and our summer camp group meet this summer. But stay tuned, and if you would, get the word out. Most importantly, we are not selling Camp Snyder. Quash that rumor. And secondly, stay tuned and contribute.